We are here today with Curt Bennet, aka the Master. All right, he's a aspiring public figure, an aspiring public speaker, motivational speaker, and he's an aspiring actor. Today, we're here to present him to the world, present him to Haven Sake Record platform, and just let him speak on the things that he's, embarking on, and whatever his goals is in life. We're going to speak on that today. So I got a couple of questions for you, Curt. The first question is, what made you start getting into public speaking? What made you start?
Oh man, me getting into public speaking was just something that I had growing up, and I always had the gift of gab. I always had the gift of gab of speaking and just making sure that people could hear my voice and speaking fluently. And I just basically always had that, and you know I didn't really take it seriously. It took someone to basically be like, man, you got the gift, man. Go ahead and use it. And so ever since then, I basically tapped into it, and man, it has done wonders. A lot of people like to hear me speak, my friends and family members and whatnot. And I'm just trying to turn this into something that I can just basically go after. And this is not a passion of mine; it's a gift. And I think a lot of people get twisted up between gift and passion. See, something that you're passionate about is something that you just go after, and you just make sure that you can give it your all. And but what your gift is that you find yourself just effortlessly doing it, and I believe that this is a gift of mine instead of a passion. And so I believe when I find myself doing it, I just go ahead and just make sure that I just let the people have it, let the people listen to it. And so it's definitely something that I'm aspiring to do, and I hope I can definitely make an impact in the world.
Okay. Money is involved, public speaking, all of these wonderful things. That also can be actually tied into acting, and with roles in films and the production of those products, like movies or whatever, that comes with money.
Right.
Uh, as far as money is concerned, once you have developed your platform and you've got your YouTube channel monetized and you have that steady stream of income coming out, are there any public figures outside of Charleston that you do not know of that you would see yourself collabing with?
I just basically want to first get my foot in the door.
Okay.
I want to make sure I have something to offer before I start thinking about that collaboration type of deal. I just want to make sure that people understand that I'm not just looking for handouts. Like, I actually have something to offer. And so when I look at that situation, I say, okay, if anybody wants to work with me, I'm down to it. I'm down to listen to it, because I care more about the relationships as to what I can build with public speaking versus the money aspect, because the money aspect always going to be there. But is it the relationships there? Because if you got a constant relationship, you can always be like, okay, man, hey, I'm gonna charge this much. I'm gonna charge this much. Okay, cool, no problem, no problem. And it's always gonna be, that hand washes the other hand, or the old saying goes like that. So, I care more about the relationship aspect. So when it comes down to it, I want people to understand that, hey, I got a lot to offer, and I want people to understand that when it comes down to it, this is something that I'm very serious about. And if the right people listen to it, I'm more than welcome to basically working with them. And they're not going to have their time wasted with their best enemy. So I just want people to get that aspect out.
Okay. Uh, I'm going to ask you about styles. Now, there's many different styles of public speaking, and if I'm correct, you entered a competition, and your style was a lot different than the average, so to say.
Right.
There's other motivational speakers. I like to. I don't know if you would tie this into motivational speaking. You got people like Eddie Murphy that can do comedy, can do movies. He can speak intelligently when he needs to.
Right.
Would you see yourself being flexible? When I say flexible, could you see yourself adjusting to these roles as far as the market game? When yeah.
Yes, man. My style of motivational speaking is like I like to have a comical part of the motivational speaking. I want the audience to be engaged as much as possible, and it takes a lot to basically master that. It takes a lot to basically look at it and say, okay, I want to basically be right there in the middle. I don't want to be too long-winded where people go to sleep, but I don't want to be too short where people, left scratching their head and don't get the message. Also, I just don't want to be that standard, typical, monotone type of speaker where, I basically just stand there and just, don't interact, don't say anything as far as, keeping a monotone voice like this and, just letting people just hear that particular aspect. So, that can get very boring. And so, I like to make sure that I can mix it up because you're only as good as your last session. You're only as good as your last session. When it comes down to it, you got to make sure that you always make sure that you knock people's socks off, that you give them something more forward to looking towards when your next speaking engagement is. And so, I just think that I have that particular aspect. And I like to model myself a little bit after Eric Thomas, E.T. the hip hop preacher. um, I believe that I have more of that aspect where he hits you hard and is hard nosed, but I also have that comical side of it as well too. So when it comes down to it, I like to think I'm the best of both worlds with it, and I just want to make sure that I can just carve out my own niche and find my own way and also blaze my own trail, but also stand on the shoulders of the hard hitting giants that's hitting in this world today.
Okay. I also know that you are a Christian. As far as most public speakers that I'm aware of, they had some level of trauma that actually served as a stone in their career. When I say stone, I mean like if you look at Tyler Perry,
Right.
he was sleeping in his car.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that go through things and their the stressful situations that they survive and overcome actually become the strength of their career and what allows their name to hold weight.
Right.
Can you name anything in your past and your present that you went through that could serve as a stone in your career?
For me, it's just like the everyday person, man. I went through adversity. I was bullied once upon a time. Um, I had a lot of things said to me, or you're not as what you cranked out to be, and a whole bunch more. So I just feel like when it comes down to it, I use that as fuel to basically let people know that hey, you were wrong about me. I don't want to take it down that arrogant, narcissistic standpoint as well too. It's just making sure that I always move forward in the person that I want to be. It's not that, oh well, I think I'm better than nobody. It's just the fact of the matter is that I want people to understand that if you take a chance on me, you're gonna win. If you're a betting person, bet your money on me. When it comes down to it, I feel like Muhammad Ali when he said, if you want to lose your money, bet on Sunday. So
Right.
I feel like when it comes down to it, if anybody wants to make sure that they have their investment in me, you're gonna get that times 10. And so I just feel like all the people that have doubted me, all the people that have wronged me, I'm going to make sure I pay them back in my success as far as the revenge game goes, because I want people to understand that when it comes down to it, you had a piece of gold in your hand and you let it go. And so how those people, when they have a stock and they sell the stock, but the stock does very well, and the person that buys the stock, let's say the stock does well for about 50 million, and they sold it for about 5 million. Okay, so when it comes down to it, that's how I feel like, okay, you had a great stock that was on the rise, but you didn't want to stick around and see the fruits of the labor. You were so worried about the short term instead of the long term. And so I just want people to understand that with me, that's just the mindset that I have. And I just want to make sure that I keep that mindset but also remain humble at the same time.
Okay, another question I have to ask. Uh, we, well, this is Charleston. Charleston is a social melting pot of jealousy, envy, unnecessary hatred, and there's a lot of positive things I can say about Charleston, but we're gonna just speak the truth here. There's a lot of that. There's a crab in a bucket mentality down here. Do you feel as your journey progresses that that would be an issue mentally, spiritually? How would that attitude affect you, knowing that there's people out here that want an equal opportunity as you, them looking at you from a distance, they're going to try to they're going to try to find every little small thing possibly to tear you down, ruin your day, defame you. How do you handle those stressful times going up in your career?
Well, man, it's just, it's like I said earlier in the last segment where, those are the people that's doubting you, and those are the people that basically don't want to take a chance on you. And so I feel like, okay, with that being said, I'm just going to make sure that I can, show people that I'm worthy of being taken a chance on. But that's also, it's not just down here, it's everywhere you go. It's everywhere you go. You're always going to have critics. You're always going to have those people that get the opportunities when someone else is more deserving. That's just the way that goes. However, though, when it comes down to it, that's not an excuse for anybody to stop working, to stop grinding, to stop pursuing success. Because when it comes down to it, the story at the end is going to be so much greater. It's going to be so much sweeter because you know what you had to do to go through that, and for you to finally make it is going to be so. I mean, it's just going to be so relieving. It's just going to be so validating to say, hey, I remember when all this was against me and everything. And so, I just feel like when it comes down to it, it's just like making sure that you just continue to pursue whatever it is that you want to pursue. You don't lose sight on what's important. And I just feel like if a lot of people just continue to do that, then a lot of things will be better. And so when you have that mindset, I mean, you can accomplish anything.
Okay. Most public speakers, as they further their careers, they have, I would assume, merchandise. They set up plays with the market that they create. Like if you look at Tyler Perry, he had the plays, then the movies, then the television shows.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever see yourself directing a play?
That's kind of hard to say at this moment because when it comes down to it, what necessarily worked for Tyler Perry may not necessarily work for me. So, it's like I said earlier, I just have to find my own niche and I have to find my own way. Now, if I get established, I wouldn't rule out that possibility. I wouldn't rule out that'll be an avenue that I want to venture down. But, at this moment in time, it's all about just me focus on getting my foot in the door. And then once I start to gain a little bit more momentum and a little bit more notoriety, I would be able to say, okay, now I can venture out and do this, and now I can venture out and do that. And so, I just want people to understand that, hey, when it comes down to it, I'm willing, but I have to make sure that people are willing to accept that, because you could start out in something and it just fails. And it's not that you didn't give your all. It's not that you basically didn't put the time in. It's just that sometimes that's just how that goes. You may try something, it may not work. May a lot of people not basically see you in that aspect. So, I just think it's best to just, work on your strength, and then, if you got the flexibility and the time to go ahead and do that, then you basically can say, okay, this is something that I want to do, and I think that it will work, but I'm just trying to make sure I get my foot in the door first before I focus on venturing off and doing anything else.
Okay. All right. Well, that is Curt Bennet, and we will be back, you guys.